Welcome to another episode of Full Stack Conversations. We got our partner in crime, Mohit Memoria, and me, Varun Sethi. So let's talk about centralization versus decentralization today. So this question, are you pro-centralization or are you pro-decentralization?
Irrespective of where I stand, I'm at least not with this question because this question makes you. I feel this question is flawed because this question makes you believe that either centralization or decentralization, either black or white.
Okay.
While I believe the world is not black or white, it's a spectrum of gray.
Wow.
I'll give an example. Now, when I talk of blockchains and decentralization, I'm only talking of public blockchains. So that is a disclaimer.
Correct.
So remove all the private blockchains.
Correct.
Now, in a public blockchain network, when anybody can join the network, anybody can contribute to the network, anybody can start creating value for the network, and it's a free economy. And we have always seen that in free economies, centralization starts to emerge or automatically. Take Bitcoin. Bitcoin was entirely decentralized.
Absolutely.
No centralized authority. You don't even know who Satoshi Nakamoto is.
Correct.
It is a free economy. Still, centralization started emerging because large miners started mining and started growing.
Correct.
And this happens like even in your school days. Like if there's a class of 50 students and everybody's like equal over there, right?
Absolutely.
But if one student is trying to add a lot of value to the rest 49 students, this one student will be like hailed like gold by the rest 49
Or he
students.
becomes the monitor of the
Yes.
class and he takes
Yes.
decision on behalf of the entire class.
Yes, even if it doesn't become a or like the monitor, if it's not made by monitor by the student by the teachers, still the students will start believing that at least he's the guy to whom we should reach out to all the time.
Exactly. So there's what is called as he becomes the leader,
Yeah.
and people start following him.
Yes.
So ideally, what happens is that even if we see this thing in Companies Act as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk from legal perspective, even in a board meeting, we generally appoint a chairman for that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, what happens is that the work of the chairman is to make sure that the meeting goes on as per the agenda. All people are able to say things that they want to say. However, the problem with centralization over a period of time, what happened was that, and perhaps we live in a democratic country. So ideally, it is we the people who appoint our leader or
Yeah.
our politician.
Yeah.
Now, with time, what happens is that the role of the politician is initially to ensure that everyone in the fraternity is represented by that one person. However, with time, we've seen that the person who is at the central level of authority starts taking decisions which is not emerging from the community but start taking his own decisions.
Yes.
And the moment then those own decisions are then pushed back to the fraternity.
Yes.
That is the real problem of centralization.
Wow.
So it is not that decentralization is there to solve problems.
Yes.
It is there that the centralization also comes with centralization of power and decision making.
Yes, this is such an interesting point because you remember the other day we were discussing how everything initially was decentralized.
Absolutely.
Everybody was taking care of their own wheats and rice and doing the barter system.
Exactly. So human evolution has
Yes.
seen decentralization.
Yes.
Everyone
Decentralization was the beginning.
Exactly. So everyone was their own decision takers, and they did not have any central representation.
Absolutely.
So if I was, say, having certain cows, and you were having certain sheep, you and I did not require any other third-party
Absolutely.
intermediary,
Yes.
and we could exchange barter systems. So this is what decentralization is all about. So human evolution was started with
Decentralized,
decentralization.
yes. But then we moved towards centralization probably because of convenience that these centralized bodies started providing.
That's quite interesting when you use the term convenience, because ideally what happens is that in a very simple economy, in a very simple environment, you can surely find out that lots of things are decentralized. However, as the transactions grow, as the engagements between decentralized
Yeah.
units or nodes, so as to speak, grow, then what happens is that you need a central authority, or the central authorities emerge as an option of convenience.
Yes.
However, when that convenience becomes necessity, and when that necessity becomes
burden.
so burdensome, because there is centralization of power,
Yeah.
and again, that centralization of power pushes decision back
Absolutely.
to the community instead of community taking decisions about the leader or the central authority. It's the other way around. Hence, we see that lots of, say for example, consider a simple farmer, not much educated, going to a bank. Now see how banks deal with that farmer. Now, ideally, bank is providing a service
Yeah.
to the farmer,
Yeah.
representing the fraternity of farmers and other stakeholders in the bank.
Yeah.
However, the farmer feels that had he not put his money in the bank, he could have directly traded his stock
Yes.
with any other node or any other decentralized party.
Yes.
So it is the responsibility of the central authority
Yes.
to reconsider how it uses its power.
Absolutely. I think that is where I believe the trade-off is. So when these centralized authorities are giving you the convenience,
Correct.
I think what they're taking back from you is the authority to make decisions.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Now they are
convenience
making
was-
decisions on your behalf, but they are saying whatever decisions we'll make for on behalf of you, they'll be convenient.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
I don't know how beautiful of this trade-off is, but
See, now we can surely consider all these problems in centralization. However, there is surely still a need of authorities to take decisions.
Yes.
Also, I would not say that the central authority is totally problematic. Why? Because generally, when you see in a certain population, not everyone is a decision taker.
yeah,
And some people who take decisions on behalf of other fraternity members slowly automatically become the central authority.
absolutely,
And when that central authority dictates its term, that is when the problem seeps in.
absolutely.
So it is not that decentralization will solve all the problems of the world,
Yeah.
but it will surely see and ensure that there is decentralization of decision making.
Yes.
So decision making is
I-
something that
you-
is to be focused on.
Absolutely. I think you have hit the nail on its head. Because no matter how decentralized you start, centralization will start to emerge in any free economy, in
Absolutely.
any network, in any community which has no rules. It'll always emerge. And I'm totally with you when you say, even if it emerges, it still doesn't have that authority to make decisions on for the entire community.
Correct.
So the community, when they feel like this emerged centralized authority is making a decision which is not good for the community can immediately move to the entirely like different blank slate.
Absolutely.
Which is like, we don't believe in you. Let another central authority emerge out of this community again.
Correct. So I think if we talk about this moving from one fraternity to another, perhaps in blockchain world that can be termed as a fork.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. So this is the term I was about to use, but then I thought it will become too technical.
So perhaps I think this is what happens, that even when you look at, say, blockchain structures or crypto structures, we realize that they actually start with a very good notion of everyone being the decision taker.
Yeah.
There is democracy
Yeah.
in decision making, where everyone has a right to say. Just like, say, for example, in a company also, every shareholder has a right to speak and right to vote
Yeah.
at the general meeting of the company.
Absolutely.
So ideally, he has a certain representation of the decisions that are taken by the company. However, you still need the board of directors of the company. So when you look at the board of directors, the responsibility given to the board of directors is to act on behalf of the shareholders. Because shareholders may be, say, an individual,
Yeah.
not having the expertise or the skill or the knowledge to actually take decisions for a bigger company. So it was the problem of, say, distributed small shareholders not being able to compile themselves together and take a decision that central authorities emerged.
Yeah.
But the problem arises when the central authorities start taking their own decisions without informing others and then pushing their decisions
Yeah.
down to the other people or the other nodes in the population, which ideally are the real owners.
Yeah.
So in the blockchain world, perhaps you can say that if you hold some units
Yeah.
or tokens of a certain crypto asset, now ideally you should have a decision making authority as well. So I think I'm just getting on lines of security token here, but even in utility token you should have some representation, so as to speak. Now the problem here is that still the decision taking or the decision making is done by a limited set of people who are the founding teams, say for example. Now the founding team, when they start taking decisions without properly following consensus mechanisms, that is where the centralization seeps in.
Yeah.
Now the balance is that it's not wrong, it surely speeds up the decision making process, but it also has some undemocratic or lacks democratic decision making.
Absolutely. So I think I totally agree with your point. And while you have touched on the legal parts of it, I believe the same thing just replicates on the technology side also.
Very
And
nice.
and I believe, at least for this video, I think we can wrap it up by saying that the next kind of social structures that will emerge will not be entirely centralized or entirely decentralized, but will be a combination of both of them.
Yes.
Where it might start as decentralized. Centralization might emerge out of it, or maybe some parts are decentralized, some parts are centralized. So what I think is, the systems of tomorrow will not be entirely trustless. They'll be the systems in which you'll have to trust less. I believe.
Oh, no, that's a brilliant thing to say. So I think it's not that decentralization solves all the problems, and it is also that centralization also does not solve all the problems. I think it's something in between,
Yeah,
which is a hybrid
absolutely.
version of centralization and decentralization, as you rightly pointed out. We've got to trust the systems less,
Yes.
and that's an interesting thing. I think
Alright.
this is where we end up the video. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
हाय कर भी दो पता नहीं क्या स्लो लोग हैं
Hi.
इसकी शक्ल देख के